Something shifted last week. You may not have words for it yet, but your body knows. Your sleep changed. Your appetite changed. The things that used to wreck you for 3 days now barely touch you for 3 hours. You stood in the middle of your kitchen one morning and you actually noticed weight. The heaviness is gone. The weight that has sat on your chest for as long as you can remember has lifted. And you almost don't trust it. You keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. You keep waiting for the suffering to come back, because suffering is what you have always known. But beloved, listen to me. It's not coming back. The old life is over. You just crossed a line. My name is George, and I'm telling you tonight what nobody in your circle has the boldness to tell you. The season of suffering that defined your last 10, 20, 30 years, it has officially ended. Not paused, not softened, ended. Heaven closed that chapter while you were sleeping, and you woke up in a new country with the same passport. You don't recognize the landscape yet. You don't know the customs. You don't know the language. But your spirit is already adjusting, because your spirit was the one that made the move first. The body is just now catching up. I know this sounds dramatic. I know somebody watching this is thinking, George, you don't know what I'm going through right now. My marriage is falling apart. My finances are wrecked. My health is hanging by a thread. How can you tell me the suffering is over? And I hear you. I'm not dismissing what you're walking through. But I want you to understand something. The circumstances around you and the season inside you are two different things. The circumstances are the cleanup. The season is what God has already declared. Joseph was still in the prison when his promotion was already written in heaven. Paul was still in chains when revival was already breaking out 3 cities away. Your outside has not caught up to your inside yet, but it is catching up faster than you realize. Tonight, I want to walk you through what is happening, because if nobody explains it to you, you will misread it. You will think the peace is just a fluke. You will think the lightness is just because you slept well. You will think the sudden clarity in your mind is just the coffee. And you will accidentally talk yourself back into the old country when heaven has already moved you out. So, let me give you the markers. Let me give you the language. Let me give you the framework that the old prophets understood, that the early apostles walked in, that the modern church has almost completely forgotten how to teach. The scripture talks about 2 ways of living, the natural way and the spiritual way. Paul wrote about it in Romans chapter 8. There is a life lived according to the flesh, and there is a life lived according to the Spirit. He didn't say one is bad and one is good. He said one is death and one is life. One produces suffering as its constant byproduct. The other produces peace as its constant byproduct. And the entire journey of the chosen one is the journey from the first to the second, from the natural country to the spiritual country, from the old self that you were born into, to the new self that was sealed in you before the foundations of the world. And tonight, somebody watching just crossed over. Here's how you know. The first sign is that the things that used to control you have lost their grip. Think about it. There were emotions that used to run your whole week. A comment from your mother, a glance from your husband, a passive-aggressive email from a coworker. One small thing and you were derailed for days. You replayed it. You rehearsed your response. You couldn't eat. You couldn't sleep. But somewhere in the last few weeks, those same triggers have come and you barely noticed. They bounced off. You moved on with your day, and later, when you remembered it, you couldn't even find the wound. That's not maturity. That's not therapy. That's translation. Your spirit has been translated into a new country, where those old voices have no jurisdiction. The second sign is that you are no longer afraid of being alone. For years, the silence terrified you. You filled every quiet moment with noise, television, music, scrolling, anything to keep the silence away. Because in the silence, you would hear the accuser's voice telling you who you were and who you would never be. But now, the silence has become your favorite room in the house. You sit in it. You breathe in it. You actually crave it. Because the silence is where heaven speaks to you now, and you would rather hear heaven's voice once than hear 10,000 human voices a day. Elijah found God in the still small voice after the wind and the earthquake and the fire passed by. And you have found the same thing. The voice that was always trying to reach you can finally get through, because the static of the old life has been turned down. The third sign is that you can suddenly forgive people you spent years hating. You're going to notice this. Names that used to make your jaw clench are now coming to mind with nothing attached. No bitterness. No replay of what they did. Just the name, floating up and then drifting away. You might even find yourself praying for them. Genuinely praying. Not the gritted teeth prayer where you ask God to bless them while secretly hoping He doesn't. Real prayer, where you actually want their good. Stephen prayed for the men who were stoning him to death. He said, "Lord, do not hold this sin against them." That kind of forgiveness is not human. That kind of forgiveness is what comes out of someone who has already crossed into the new country, where the chains of the old offenses have no weight anymore. The fourth sign is that your body is healing in ways you didn't pray for. Pains you have carried for years are leaving without you doing anything about them. Patterns in your sleep, your appetite, your energy, they are realigning. You walk past a mirror and you actually pause, because for the first time in a long time, something behind your eyes looks alive again. The light has come back on. And you can't take credit for it, because you didn't do anything different. You didn't change your diet. You didn't start a new program. The change started in your spirit, and it is now working its way down into the cells of your body. Paul wrote that if the Spirit of God dwells in you, He will give life even to your mortal body. That is not metaphor. That is what is happening to you right now. And here is what I want you to do with that. Do not minimize it. Do not call it a coincidence. Do not chalk it up to luck, or to the weather, or to a good night's sleep. When the body of a chosen one starts to align with what heaven has already done in the Spirit, every small healing is a love letter. Every restored hour of sleep is a love letter. Every meal that finally tastes good again is a love letter. Receive them. Thank Him for them out loud, because gratitude is the language that opens the gates of the new country wider. The fifth sign is that your prayers are being answered faster than they used to be. You used to pray for things for months, years. You watched the calendar pages turn, and nothing moved. But lately you have noticed something strange. You think of a need in the morning, and by the evening it's met. You whisper a name, and within a few days that person calls you. You ask God for clarity on a decision, and the answer comes within hours, sometimes within minutes. The lag is gone. The distance between the prayer and the answer has collapsed, because the country you are now living in does not operate on the old delays. Heaven is closer in the new country. The veil is thinner, and the chosen one who has crossed over begins to experience what Jesus said when He told the disciples, "Ask and it shall be given. Seek and you shall find." He wasn't lying. He was just describing the country He was already living in. The sixth sign is the one that most people miss completely. Your dreams have changed. The chaotic dreams, the anxious dreams, the dreams where you were being chased, or you were lost, or you were back in some terrible place from your past. They have stopped, and in their place, you are having dreams of light, dreams of open doors, dreams of people you love being safe, dreams of yourself standing somewhere high and quiet and beautiful, with nothing pursuing you. Daniel had these kinds of dreams. Joseph had these kinds of dreams. The dreams of the chosen one in the old country are warnings. The dreams of the chosen one in the new country are previews. And if you have been having previews lately, write them down, every one of them, because heaven is showing you what is being prepared. And before I go further, I need to pause, because I know what is happening in some of you right now. You are sitting there with tears running down your face, because every single thing I have said is something you have noticed and could not explain. You thought you were going crazy. You thought maybe you were finally just numb. You didn't know what to call it. And now, for the first time, somebody has put words around what your spirit has been trying to tell you for weeks. I want to tell you why I can describe this so precisely. Because I lived it. 11 years ago, I was the man crawling through the old country with a weight on my chest that I could not lift. I lost a marriage. I lost a business. I lost 3 people I loved within 14 months. There was a season where I could not get out of bed without crying. There was a season where I thought the suffering was just who I was. And then one night, alone in a hotel room in a city I did not even want to be in, something broke open over me. I cannot fully describe what happened, but I went into that hotel room as one man, and I came out a different man. And from that night forward, slowly, painfully, beautifully, every one of the 12 signs I am describing tonight began to manifest in my own life. So when I tell you the suffering is over, I am not theorizing. I am testifying. I am telling you what I have walked through, and what I have watched dozens of others walk through after me. And the reason I created what I am about to share with you is because I refuse to let another chosen one wander through this crossing alone, without language, without a map, without somebody who has been there saying, yes, this is real, and yes, you are exactly where heaven said you would be. What you just experienced was not content. It was a mirror. And mirrors demand a decision. If you are ready to go to the root, to finally understand why you think, feel, and perceive differently from everyone around you. The secret protocol carries the 7 keys that reveal what God placed inside you before you ever drew your first breath. Full audiobook included for every moment of your day. Plus, the awakening map as a bonus. The 5 stages of spiritual awakening mapped with clarity, showing where you are right now and what the Spirit is releasing in this season. Link pinned in the first comment. Not for much longer. And you did not make it to the end without a reason. Now let's keep going. Because there are more signs that you have crossed over, and you need to hear every one of them, so you don't second guess what heaven has already done. The 7th sign is that you have stopped explaining yourself to people who never tried to understand you. For years, you defended yourself. You argued. You over-explained. You bent over backwards, trying to make your family see who you really were. You wrote long messages. You rehearsed long conversations. You replayed old arguments in your head for weeks, trying to find the perfect words that would finally make them understand. But something has shifted. You don't feel the pull anymore. When someone misjudges you now, you just notice it, and then you let it go. You realize for the first time that the people who were meant to know you would already know you, and the people who refused to know you were never going to be convinced, no matter how well you explained it. Jesus stood before Pilate and answered nothing. He could have defended himself. He had every word he needed, but he had already crossed into the country where defending himself was unnecessary, because his identity was settled by a Father who already saw everything. And you, beloved, have entered that same country. The 8th sign is that you are losing your taste for the things that used to define you. The shows you used to binge no longer hold your attention. The gossip you used to feed on now feels heavy and stale. The music that used to move you sounds hollow when it comes on. Even friendships that used to be the center of your social life, you find yourself not reaching out, not because of anger, but because you have nothing in common with them anymore. They are still talking about the things you have outgrown. They are still rehearsing the same complaints. And every time you try to engage, something inside you pulls back. That is not coldness. That is realignment. Your appetite has changed because your stomach has changed. You cannot eat what you used to eat because what you used to eat was feeding the old self, and the old self is being put off. Paul said it plainly. Put off the old man. Put on the new man. You are not being mean. You are being made new. The 9th sign is that you have started to recognize other chosen ones on sight. You meet someone in line at the store. You make eye contact for 2 seconds, and something inside you says, "There is one of mine." You don't know them. You haven't spoken a word, but you recognize them at a level deeper than words. And sometimes they recognize you back. and a small smile passes between you, and both of you go on with your day, knowing that something just happened in the spirit. This is what Jonathan and David experienced. They met one time and their souls were knit together. They didn't have to build the connection. The connection was already there, waiting to be activated by physical proximity. The new country is full of these recognitions, and the longer you walk in it, the more frequent they become. You will start to feel like you are no longer alone, even on the days when you are alone, because the family of the chosen is finally beginning to find each other in the natural realm. And I want you to pay attention to this in the coming weeks, because it is about to accelerate. The encounters will not feel like accidents. They will feel like reunions. A conversation in a coffee shop will go 3 layers deep within 10 minutes. A stranger at a gas station will look you in the eyes and say something so specific that you will walk back to your car shaken. Heaven is now stitching together a network that has been scattered for decades, and the ones who have crossed over are the threads. The 10th sign is that you have started to feel a holy boldness rising in you that you have never felt before. Things you used to be afraid to say, you now say. People you used to be afraid to confront, you now confront. Decisions you used to put off for years, you now make in 5 minutes. There is a courage flowing through you that does not match your personality. Quiet people are suddenly speaking up. Soft people are suddenly setting limits. People who used to apologize for existing are suddenly walking into rooms with their heads up. This is not arrogance. This is what happened to Peter on the day of Pentecost. The same man who denied Jesus 3 times in a courtyard a few weeks earlier was now standing in front of thousands of people preaching with such fire that 3,000 were saved in a single sermon. Same man, different country. And you, beloved, are walking in that same boldness right now, because the Spirit that fell on Peter has fallen on you. The 11th sign is that you are starting to thank God for things you used to resent. The very things that broke you are now becoming the things you praise Him for. The childhood you would never have chosen. The relationship that ended. The job you lost. The illness that took everything from you. You used to ask why. Now you find yourself saying thank you, because you can see, with a clarity you never had before, how every one of those wounds was the soil from which the new self was being grown. Joseph said to his brothers, "What you meant for evil, God meant for good." He didn't say it 10 years later, out of forced positivity. He said it after decades, with full understanding, because he had finally crossed into the country where everything that had happened to him had become fuel for who he was now. And if you find yourself thanking God lately for things that used to make you cry, that is sign 11. The translation is complete. And listen carefully now, because the 12th sign is different from the other 11. The first 11 describe what is being healed in you. The 12th describes what is being unlocked in you. The first 11 are the harvest of the new country. The 12th is the door to a deeper room of that country, a room most believers never walk into in their entire lifetime. So, lean in. Don't rush past what I am about to say. And the 12th sign, the deepest one, the one I want you to sit with for a long time after this video ends. You are no longer afraid of death. I know that sounds intense, but ask yourself honestly, is the fear gone? You used to lie awake at night, terrified of it, terrified of losing the people you love, terrified of your own ending, terrified of what might be on the other side. And somewhere in the last few months, the fear has lifted. You can still feel grief, you can still feel love, but the terror is not there anymore. Paul said it like this: "Where, O death, is your sting? Where, O grave, is your victory?" He was not being poetic. He was describing a real shift that happens in a soul that has crossed over. The fear of death is the last chain, and the chosen one who has stepped into the new country has had that chain unlocked, because the country they are now standing in does not end at death. It continues right through it. That is sign 12. And if you noticed even 6 of these signs in your own life, beloved, you are not who you used to be. I want to say something to you now, before we close, because I know this video is going to bother some people. People in your life are going to be confused by who you are becoming. They were used to the old version of you. They knew how to handle her. They knew how to provoke him. They knew exactly which buttons to push to get the reaction they wanted. And now those buttons aren't working anymore. The reaction isn't coming. The wound isn't opening like it used to. And they don't know what to do with this new version of you. Some of them are going to celebrate it. Some of them are going to grieve it. Some of them are going to try to drag you back because your transformation is exposing something in them that they aren't ready to face. Let them go. Bless them. Pray for them. But do not for 1 second go back into the old country to make them comfortable. You did not walk through everything you walked through just to crawl back into the cell after heaven opened the door. And listen to me on this. The reason you are watching this tonight is not random. Out of all the videos you could have clicked on, you clicked on this one. Out of all the voices on the internet, you stopped on mine. That is the Spirit confirming what is happening inside you. There are people watching this who needed to hear it 3 years ago, and heaven held it back, because 3 years ago you were not ready. Tonight, you are ready. Tonight, the words can land. Tonight, the pieces can come together. And that is grace. That is the timing of heaven. That is the mercy of a Father who knew exactly when to bring this message into your eyes and your ears. So here is what I want you to do. I want you to go to the comments below this video, and I don't want a generic comment. I want you to tell me which of the 12 signs you recognized most clearly in your own life this week. Just the number, and 1 sentence describing it. 1 sentence. That's all. Because I read these comments, and I want to see which signs the Spirit is highlighting in the people who are crossing over right now. There is something powerful about declaring it out loud. The Bible says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Your testimony in the comment section is a stone of remembrance. It is you, marking the moment, in writing, that you crossed over. So write it. And tomorrow, when the doubts try to come back, because they will try, you will be able to scroll down and read your own words. And you will remember. You will remember that on this night, in this video, heaven officially closed the old chapter and opened the new one. And nothing, no enemy, no setback, no old voice, no familiar fear, has the authority to drag you back into a country you no longer belong to. The suffering is over. The new life has begun. And from this day forward, you walk in a different country, under a different sky, with a different name written over your head. The chains that held you for so long have been left in the old country. The voices that defined you for so long have lost their authority. The fears that ran your decisions for so long have been quietly burned out of you while you were sleeping. And what is rising now in their place is something heaven has been preparing for a very, very long time. Welcome home, beloved. You finally made it.